Well, we've heard the Russian perspective of the conflict there. So let's bring in General Sir Richard Shirreff. He's a former NATO Deputy Supreme Allied Commander Europe, and he joins us from Salisbury. Thank you so much for your time. We just heard from Sergei Karaganov saying sooner or later, preferably sooner, Russia will destroy the Ukrainian military. Can the West keep up its unified support and prevent that from happening, or is it wavering?
Yes, 100%. And my message to Mr. Karavanov is that Ukraine will fight to the end and that the West will continue to support Ukraine against what is, by any standards, an assault by a bloodstained tyrant, Mr. Putin. Once again, Europe faces the challenge of a bloodstained tyrant prepared to inflict unspeakable suffering on a peaceful, liberal, democratic nation in exactly the same way as Hitler did to the Soviet Union and to much of Western Europe. So the message for Russia is that this will end with every single Russian soldier and vehicle being evicted from Ukrainian sovereign territory.
General, you say that this is a Russian assault. If you go back in history, one could say that there is an assault by NATO. And I bring this up because there was a very important conversation that happened in the early 1990s, that between James Baker, the former U.S. Secretary of State, and Mikhail Gorbachev. And James Baker allegedly said that if Russia accepts the unification of Germany, we promise that NATO's eastern borders would not move to the east 1 inch. And we know that that hasn't happened. Let's actually put up a map for our viewers so we can actually describe this better. In 1999, you had the Czech Republic, Hungary, and Poland joining. 2004, you move on from Iron Curtain countries, and then you have former Soviet republics like Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, amongst others, and then you have the Adriatic Accord. So let me ask you, General, when Russia says that Ukraine joining NATO is an existential threat, it's not difficult to see their point. I mean, going back to the Cuban Missile Crisis, the Americans didn't like the fact that there was a possibility of Russian nukes 90 miles off the coast of Florida.
Let's just focus on that language you use, which frankly is, in these circumstances, deeply inappropriate. There has been only one assault. NATO has assaulted nobody. You tell me what NATO soldiers have been laying waste Ukraine, laying waste Russian soldiers, not one. Let's be clear as well. James Baker promised Gorbachev that NATO would not set up military structures in East Germany once Germany was unified. That did not happen. Thereafter, recently liberated countries which had been under the Soviet Empire in the Warsaw Pact, Hungary, Poland, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, the Baltic states, of their own free will, as democratic nations, elected to join NATO, met the requirements and the criteria for NATO membership, and were admitted to what is a defensive alliance under the terms of collective defense laid down by Article 5 of the Washington Treaty. There has been no assault by NATO. And what you are hearing from Russia, Russian apologists, Mr. Karabanov, is the usual lies dressed up as truth and truth dressed up as lies.
General, okay, sooner or later, the Ukrainians have gotten what they've requested. First, it was the anti-tank Javelin missiles, rockets, they got that. They were asking for the howitzers, they got that. Now we're talking about tanks. We know that on the wish list, there are longer range missiles as well as fighter jets. If Ukraine gets this, do you feel that NATO could be put in a compromising position in terms of this battle moving beyond the borders of Ukraine and into Russian soil?
Ukraine has an inalienable right of self-defense, and that means that Ukraine can target and attack any Russian attacks on Ukrainian soil, whether they are launched from Ukrainian soil or Russian soil. NATO will continue to support Ukraine and give Ukraine the tools to do the job. The issue I would highlight is the need to ramp up and speed up that supply, because the sooner Ukraine has incorporated, integrated, trained, rehearsed, and planned with the new capabilities, the sooner this war will be over and the sooner every Russian will be out of Ukrainian territory.
All right. General Sir Richard Shirreff, thank you very much for joining us here in our special coverage. I do appreciate it. Thank you very much, sir.